Tim, people's gardens do well one year, well not the other year, and it usually boils down to what you and I consider to be garden killer factor number one. And what would you say that is?
Lack of soil nutrition.
Lack of soil nutrition will certainly ruin your garden, especially if you've been growing in that garden for more than at least one season. So our number one garden killer is definitely lack of soil nutrition.
Your garden soil will become nutrient deficient over time. It's not a question of if, but rather when. This typically occurs when the soil's nutrient reserves are depleted due to factors such as plant growth, leaching, or insufficient replenishment of those nutrients. The rate at which the soil becomes nutrient deficient depends on several different factors, and how quickly that deficiency happens might just surprise you. So let's take a look at a few of these. Certainly, plant growth equals nutrient uptake. Plants take up nutrients from the soil for growth, flowers, fruit, and seeds. Over time, if plants are regularly harvested or left to grow without replenishing the soil, these nutrients obviously will become depleted. In one of the previous videos in this series, we talked about the need for crop rotation. The reason for that is different plants require different nutrients, and some crops, like heavy feeders, tomatoes, corn, and squash, can deplete the soil faster than others. Things like legumes, beans, peas, lentils that actually fix nitrogen. And as you remember, our factor number 2 in our series, Garden Killers, we identified that as being poor soil. Loam soils are made up of a combination of topsoil, sand, and compost, like the ones we blend here at Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply. These tend to hold nutrients better than over sandy soils. Overly sandy soils, while they drain well, leach nutrients much more easily. Clay soils will retain both water and nutrients, but they get very waterlogged and very compact, which adversely affect root growth and nutrient uptake, leading to poor performance of your plants. Earlier in our video series, we identified factor number 9 when it comes to garden killers as being problems with soil pH. The pH of your soil also affects nutrient availability. For example, acidic soils can lock up essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium, making them unavailable to your plants. Tomatoes, for example, well, calcium is crucial for strong cell walls, and calcium deficiency can lead to that dreaded blossom end rot, that condition where the bottom of your tomato becomes dark and sunken. Proper calcium levels help to prevent that disorder. And just like tomatoes, your peppers also require calcium to maintain healthy cell structure. Low calcium will result in poor fruit development on your pepper plants. Another factor that leads to poor soil nutrition is excess rainfall or too much water, which can wash away water-soluble nutrients like nitrogen, potassium, and calcium from your soil. This process is known as leaching, and it can cause the soil to become nutrient deficient over time, particularly in your sandy soils or in areas that have been overwatered or experienced very heavy rainfall. So to avoid the leaching out of your soil nutrients, be certain that you're not over-watering. And although all these 5 things we've just talked about will contribute to nutrient deficiency in your soil, probably the most common and the most easy to fix when it comes to nutrient deficiency in your soil is being certain that you have enough nutrient-rich material in your soil. In another video in this series, Garden Killers, we identified as factor number 2, poor soil is contributing to poor performing gardens. In short, if you have poor soil, you're asking your poor soil to produce nutrient-dense foods from nutrient-deficient soil. And the easiest way to deal with that is to amend your soil with a good quality organic matter like compost. And when it comes to compost, at least at Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply, you have 5 different options to choose from. So therefore, you can match the type of compost that you need to amend your soil with depending upon the type of plants you're trying to grow. And compost, like any good organic matter, will definitely help improve the soil's nutrient content. Without adding organic material, things like compost, your soil can lose nutrients over time, sometimes relatively quickly, leading to deficiencies and underperformance of your garden. And without regular fertilization or adding soil amendments, the nutrients that are consumed by the plants will not be replaced, leading to nutrient deficiency. Remember our rule when it comes to fertilizers: organic soils require organic fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers will interfere with microbial activity. There are several great organics on the market if you want to use something other than compost. And remember, manure may still be one of the best options when it comes to good, quality organic fertilizer for your vegetable garden. Our composted horse manure is aged and turned regularly. Remember that fresh compost is much too robust for the garden, and it has a problem with binding nitrogen, making it unavailable for your plants. However, if you'd also like to have organics with your manure, then consider mushroom compost, a combination of straw, peat, hardwood bark fines, and composted horse manure, great for the vegetable garden. So obviously, without regular fertilization or adding soil amendments, nutrients are consumed by your plants during the process of growing and producing fruit, and those nutrients will not be replaced. That leads to nutrient deficiency and a poor performing crop. The question we get from a lot of people about gardens is something like this: my garden did great for a couple of years, but boy, last year it was absolutely terrible. The place that we usually start with is this factor number one we're talking about right now, a lack of nutrients in your soil. And then we find out oftentimes that people have been adding chemical fertilizers to their gardens. Chemical fertilizers like those that contain urea, ammonium nitrate, triple superphosphate, potassium chloride, or most synthetic nitrogen sources can disrupt soil microbial balance, contribute to nutrient leaching, and harm beneficial organisms in the soil, making it much less healthy for the plants in the long run. And it bears saying again, remember our rule when it comes to fertilizers: organic soil requires organic fertilizers. Now, there are several great organic fertilizers on the market that you can buy in bag or liquid form, but just be sure you're getting one that is fully organic for your garden. The time it takes for your garden to become nutrient deficient varies widely depending upon the factors we've just discussed. But generally, nutrient depletion can begin to occur within a few months to a year if you're not replenishing the soil with compost or good organic fertilizers. Annual crops like vegetables may deplete the soil's nutrients within a single growing season. Perennial plants, like in your landscape or planting beds, might show signs of nutrient deficiency over a 1 to 3 year period without proper replenishment. Now that we've got the idea of nutrient deficiency in our minds, let's take a look at some of the symptoms of nutrient deficiency. Dried up or yellow leaves can be a sign of inadequate watering, but are often a sign of nitrogen deficiency. Poor growth often indicates a lack of phosphorus or potassium. Brown spots on your leaf may indicate calcium or magnesium deficiency. And whether you are a seasoned gardener or a brand new gardener, trust your gut. Plants or fruits that just look bad, when that happens, think lack of nutrition. And just like that old saying goes, knowing is always better than guessing. So test your soil. Before you choose an organic fertilizer, sometimes it's wise to test your soil to see what nutrients it might be lacking. This ensures you're adding the right type and the right amount of fertilizer. However, be certain to collect your samples from various spots in your garden, testing each one of them. You can pick up a do-it-yourself soil test kit at your local garden center or online. These test kits typically measure key nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and sometimes even soil pH. Some of the kits will also test for micronutrients. Again, Just be sure to get more than one sample and test from more than one place in your garden. For a much more detailed and accurate analysis, you can send your soil sample to a professional soil testing service. Local agricultural extensions or universities often offer soil testing services for a small fee, but with that comes the peace of mind knowing your results are accurate. These labs provide comprehensive nutrient analysis, including specific recommendations for fertilizer and other amendments. With either method, use the test results to address nutrient deficiencies and, if needed, adjust the soil pH accordingly. Again, knowing is always better than guessing. There are certainly several things you can do to prevent nutrient deficiencies. Although we've already talked about it, rotate your crops. So maybe consider growing nitrogen-fixing plants like peas, beans, or lentils, which naturally restore nitrogen from the air back into the soil. Certainly fertilize as needed, based upon your soil testing to determine the nutrient levels. Remember again, organic soil needs organic fertilizers. Organic composts contain beneficial chemicals like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, the NPK primary nutrients for your plants, as well as trace amounts of other essential elements like calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc, making it a natural source of nutrients for soil and plants without harmful synthetic chemicals. I like to not only work compost into my garden soil, but I also add it as a mulch around my plants rather than wood chips. For me, by far my favorite is Purple Cow Classic Compost. Okay, so one last caution when it comes to fertilizers. Too much fertilizer, even organic fertilizer, will harm your plants. Follow the recommended application rates to avoid nutrient imbalances, especially when you're using bagged or liquid organic fertilizers. And in case you're wondering, it's best not to grow your plants in straight compost, as you run the risk of burning the roots of your plants as the compost heats up during its natural decomposition. Simply mix your compost of choice with good quality topsoil. All of our soil blends at Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply are 50% topsoil, 25% sand, and 25% compost. With 40 years of experience, we've proven that this ratio is not only wise, but gives you great results. Lastly, keep in mind that organic fertilizers often release their nutrients slowly, improving long-term soil health without the risk of burning plants. However, it may take longer to see immediate effects. So, when it comes to amending your garden, the best time to overall amend your garden soil is in the fall, because it gives the amendments ample time to break down and integrate themselves into the soil over the winter, ensuring your plants have access to the nutrients when spring arrives, while also allowing for easier access to your garden beds with fewer active plants and more manageable weather conditions. Doing this is important even if you started with good soil in the spring. Remember, you not only harvested vegetables throughout the growing season, but also the nutrients within the soil that they were grown in. Add fresh organic matter every fall to start every spring on a good note.
Keep in mind that today's garden killer topic is very closely associated with one or maybe two other topics. So for the best possible overview on how to keep your garden safe all season long, be sure you watch all 10 of our videos. Hey, before you leave, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay current with all of our Soil Channel videos. And again, on behalf of Tim Wallace Soil Mix Supply and the Soil Channel,
I'm Tim Wallace.
and I'm Joe. Thanks for watching. Now grow and make it a great day.
On the website, you're able to see all the different soil blends we have to offer for the lawn, garden, planting beds, trees and shrubs, and yes, even golf courses, as well as the component products and ratios of each of our specialty soil blends. And under About Us, be sure to check out our blog posts. Great information for caring for the lawn and the garden.